All right. Hello, everyone. I hope you're all enjoying today's sessions and seeing some great feedback and great questions in the chat. So we were going to continue the momentum with our next panel, Transforming the B2B Buying Experience in the Channel. Corey, I will turn it over to you.
Thanks, Rebecca. Hey, guys. My name is Corey Miller. I'm a Senior Marketplace Success Manager here with Tackle. I'll be your moderator for today's great panel. To get started, I'd like to pass it over to Christine for some brief introductions, and then over to Mike.
Hi, thanks everyone for joining. My name is Christine Puccio. I am the Vice President of Global Cloud Alliances and Go-to-Market Programs at F5. Been in seat for a few years, and before that was at Red Hat for about 9 years. So wealth of software background and open source.
Thanks, Christine. Hi, everyone. Thanks for listening and watching today. It's Mike Fitzgerald here. I'm the CTO at SoftwareOne. I've been at SoftwareOne for about 6.5 years. And then most recently, responsible for our GoPath ISV part of the organization, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about in the next 30 minutes or so. Bit of a general background. I've been in the channel most of my life, either working in software or hardware providers, mostly for customers in the US and the UK. Thanks, Corey.
Perfect. Mike, thanks for that. Christine, thank you for the intros. So as they said, today's topic is transforming the B2B buying experience in the channel. Just some context before we get into the discussion. So as we all know, the current channel model is being disrupted by the clouds. Today's session will discuss what this means for startups and established companies alike, and what leaders should prepare for. We'll be covering how to approach a cloud-driven channel strategy, the rise of partner ecosystems, the role of marketplace in the channel, and predictions for the future. So with that, our first question to kick things off is for Mike. So Mike, SoftwareOne has been on a very transformative journey over the past few years, from global reseller to a leader in digital transformation and fully managed cloud services. While other traditional resellers feared marketplace selling, you've embraced it. Can you walk us through that decision-making process and how the bet is paying off for you guys?
Yeah, absolutely. We should probably talk a little bit about the history of SoftwareOne and success with the customers. That probably helps. So if you look at where we came from, that was always about providing value in the software supply chain to customers. The reason that we moved into cloud services and the reason we moved into digital transformation was feedback from customers said we can't really make buying decisions until we really understand the impact on our business. So hence cloud. So really when you're consuming and not buying up front, you really have to start working with your customers and partnering to add value in order to be able to consume. So are you choosing the right platforms? Are you making the right decisions for how you use these different technologies in your business? And then the same thing happened, I suppose, if you look how we've moved into digital transformation, it's the same buying decision. So I'm thinking about transforming part of my business. I'm unsure about how to transform business. What technology should we be using? What cloud platform should we be using? And the same thing logically came to us when we think about marketplace. So customers said, in the cloud, you buy software in a different way to the way in which we used to buy software when it was on-premise, or to a degree now that it's hybrid. So customers came to us and said, we expect more of a digital supply chain. We actually call our offering digital supply chain, funnily enough, and that's underpinned by our digital platform. And so we started to work with customers to see, how can you make that an elegant process? How can it be efficient? And how can it help them transform their business? So do you really want a cumbersome procurement process in the way of your developers developing software, or your great software architects creating something that's transforming your business? And that's really how that started. And that's an established motion for us. We've had a marketplace for a couple of years. We're about to launch a global replacement for that marketplace. So we're superseding that with some extra value for the customer. And then to talk about success. So how successful is it? We've had a 25% growth in our existing marketplace this year, 50,000 orders so far up to the end of April. So it's a successful part of our business. 75% growth in hyperscale orders through our marketplace, and all of our consumption business that's driven with those hyperscalers, AWS, Google, Microsoft, is all driven through our marketplace. If it's a consumption contract, it's all driven there. To give you some orders of magnitude, we have multi-billion-dollar business with Microsoft in CSP through 365 and Azure in that marketplace, almost tens of billions of dollars now. So is the success there? Absolutely. Customers' feedback that they're happy with the process, but we're always trying to evolve and make that better.
Mike, thanks for that. That's really good. Christine, I'm not sure if you want to add anything there. Anything that you want to add to that, or?
No, I mean, I was taking notes a little bit on providing the value back to the customer, I think is a big point that Mike hit on. And traditionally, we were in this margin type of reseller mode. And the switch that Software One did was they embraced, to me, it sounds like they embraced cloud computing and looked at services that they can offer to their customers being more at the top of the decision making and the design of what the customers are looking at when they move workloads over to cloud. So, and that's exactly what we're experiencing here at F5.
Definitely. I think it's a great segue into my next question is, F5 has a long and successful history in traditional channel sales. What pushed F5 to expand to a more cloud-driven buying strategy? And if you could, how has it taken shape? In what cloud now be described as an omni-channel approach?
There's a lot there. So
yeah, you can I can break it down and dissect it by all.
So traditionally, F5 has had an extensive channel business. And in fact, a majority of our revenue comes from our channel partners. And that is when we were significantly a hardware and appliance company. I think the acquisitions with NGINX, and that's where I come from with F5, and the acquisitions of Shape and Volterra and some of these other software platforms kind of really nudged the company to look at different routes to market. I would say probably in the last few years, we've just looked at this as a kind of incubator type of approach. So like, for example, my team does not necessarily fit in with the channel organization by design. There's a few things happening, right? We only had a few offerings in marketplace, but I think, and I hate to overuse this, but really it is what happened. The pandemic hit in the end, in 2020, but that also drove customers to the cloud because of remote workforce and things of that nature. So there was this market dynamic happening, as well as F5 also going through acquisition. So when that happened, our customers followed. And so then we followed as well. And we developed a relationship with a lot of different vendors in order to get us to this digital supply chain. And that was all throughout that pandemic period. And we also looked at each marketplace, all being different, but how do we make this very simple for our field to consume, because they were partnering with our channel in a very different way. So there was a lot of transformation that happened. And I'd have to say within the last 18 months, we've seen a good growth rate to 60 to 70% year over year. Like Mike, our customers are procuring through consumption contracts. They want to procure software a certain way. And so I think for us, if we look at what F5's true value is for marketplace, is that we elongate the business a little bit with big IP, and we follow our customers into the cloud. And we also have SaaS offerings that we are able to deliver that quicker to our customers. And then the other piece to that is that we want to provide friction-free. And so now that you have these two models, now we're in a wonderful position to bring the channel community more in lockstep with us.
Excellent. And actually, you kind of hit on some of the next questions here, just in terms of share shift. And we hear a lot about marketplaces being like a share shift away from direct sales and via channel sales. Kind of what you just went through, you kind of gave a little bit of background on kind of like the magic of true cloud go-to-market, where marketplace is just a component of your overall strategy. Would you be willing to share any of the results that F5 has achieved by selling with cloud marketplaces, and kind of overall, kind of what lessons would you share with companies that are just starting on this journey today, some of the startups or legacy ISVs that are just getting into marketplace selling?
Well, I guess one thing that I noticed in the beginning was each cloud marketplace is different. So be very mindful of where you start. And we started, when I came in, we had relationships with all three. But when I was at Nginx, we, really did focus in on AWS and getting that right. And I think it's really important before you kind of keep adding on different marketplaces is to really, do you have the right team? Do you have the right operations? Do you have the right enablement? And can you look for ways that these are very similar so you can make it easier for the field? And we did focus, by the way, directly on the F5 sellers, because that was the first place for us to really go and hone in on our messaging and our program. I think the channel is changing, and Mike can probably be better at this than I can. I've lived in the partner alliance world for a very long time, channel, ISV, cloud. But the relationship is changing. Margin is not important. I've had resellers tell me, like, I don't really care about points here. I just want to be able to consume your software so I can actually finish what I need to do as far as providing services. So services become, the value add. And if a partner is not there, that will be a missed opportunity. And I think there's analysts such as Jay talks a lot about that, and it's true. We're seeing that. So I think for us now that we're in this point of time, we're looking at developing integrated offers with our partners that will only be consumed in marketplace, which will open up things like the CSP program that Microsoft has, and we'll be able to reach our partners in a very indirect way.
Excellent. Thanks, Christine. Mike, is there anything you want to add to that, just in terms of the value add of channel partners and kind of what Christine alluded to there?
Yeah, I think Christine pointed out that the partners are kind of changing the way they think about providing software through the channel to customers. So if you like, the value chain got bigger for the customer, because it's not just a transactional relationship anymore. It's not, hey, I need to right size this bill of materials for this piece of software. It's actually a little bit broader than that. I think this is the right piece of technology for solving this problem on this particular cloud platform that'll have this particular outcome for my users. And then you've got, of course, services revenue, managed services revenue, and margins that potentially can come in from those things. You've got potentially cloud platform margins and revenues and other solution components that can come together. So it's no longer that kind of single line item in the bill of materials that has so much pressure on it to make so much margin. So I think that's one of the things Christine is pointing out. That's a big change for us. We don't need to necessarily argue over prices much anymore, right? Yes, there is value to be had, but it's taken in different ways. It's consumption based, or it's driven on the actual value that you're delivering a solution for the customer. So I totally agree. I think the value chain is bigger for the customer. It's bigger for the channel. And I think we need to work out the right channel programs in order to be able to do that together. Do I believe we've done that yet? Probably not elegantly perfect. And I think Christine would probably agree with me. We're always trying to tweak the dials and make it right. But as long as you're prepared to partner and get together and have the open conversations, as me and Christine having some fun last week about this, then it's okay. It's absolutely fine.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. And just another question for you, Mike, just in terms of Software One. So recently we saw that Software One just launched GoatPath to help your customers govern their software and cloud investments. What can you tell us about this new company division, and what problems are you looking to solve for their customers?
Yeah, for sure. So this is another evolution of how we're constantly trying to be more digital, trying to be closer to the customer, trying to add more value. We've always had an ISV motion at Software One, and GoatPath is the new brand associated with our ISV motion. We have our existing platform that we call PyraCloud, and GoatPath is actually an umbrella brand for the first time, like a software brand that you'll see part of the Software One group, not separate or not different, and you will see new products be realized underneath that. The first is actually our global marketplace, which is something we're working on with a closed group for customers in North America right now. But that will be global later this year and will be opened up publicly to the rest of our customer base, as well as potentially new customers and our channel partners, because we also work with the channel as well. We have the opportunity now to really take our cloud management tooling. So we have some cloud management tooling that allows customers to right size their investments and really get value from the investments that they make in cloud platforms through automation and through good collaboration from a digital platform. So that will come next. And then we have some more exciting things maybe to come later in the year. So yeah, I'm super excited about Go Path. I usually have a T-shirt on and I have signs behind me and other things, but I thought that was probably not appropriate for today. But you will see more from us that will be the ISV representation from Software One.
Excellent. Looking forward to that. So thanks for all that. So more of a question for both of you guys, just for more open discussion between the two of you. While you are both early movers in cloud and marketplaces, obviously it's still early days overall. What advice do you have for ISVs and resellers that are looking to get a taste of the success you've both experienced early on in this disruptive period for marketplace selling?
Christine, I'm going to let you go first, and then.
Well, you hit on something earlier. You talked about programs. We're still wobbling there, right? I mean, we are early stages. I mean, we just basically stitched together the marketplaces to provide a concierge service, right, to our F5 sellers. What I love most about marketplaces is the opportunity to be creative. And I think in order to do that, you have to have an open mind of looking at, and I say new models loosely, but if you look at AWS and you look at GCP and Azure, they have programs. And so it's kind of almost, I look at it as dissecting their programs and looking at how do I build upon that, and how do I look at, and even bringing in partners to see what they think. And I think the voice of the partner is good because there'll be ideas there. So I think being creative and open is certainly parts of the recipe for success.
Yeah, thanks, Christine. I'd say the same thing. I think it has to start with open collaboration and partnership, and we're still very early in this process. So we're still seeing a lot of innovation happen in the cloud platforms, in the marketplace space. To a degree, let's say some of the cloud platforms still haven't got the level of comprehension we need to be, let's say, enterprise grade from a marketplace perspective. So we have to continue to partner, and I think partner is the really important thing. I think from my side, then talking specifically about ISVs and then about partners like us, I think from a partner perspective, you have to work out what your value proposition is and how that fits with the marketplace. If you're an organization that focuses purely on services, then my advice would be partner up with someone like a Software One. There's plenty of us out there that would be able to support you in driving through a digital marketplace and getting your offering to market while you focus on what you're really good at. Or if you're a bigger organization like us that has the capability, think about your digital strategy. How do you get digital? And then get in front of the customer and find out what's important from them from that value chain. Because the way customers order software now is not the way they were ordering software 3 years ago, and definitely won't be the way that they continue to order software in the next 1 to 2 years. So I think that's really important. I think specifically for ISVs, I think the hardest thing is to be open-minded. Christine's pointed a bit of this out. It's really hard to be open-minded when you have an existing run rate business that's super successful, that's growing through the channel. How do you prepare to be next? And I think that is something we probably have to take really seriously as a group of people. Be prepared to invest to get in the room, and being prepared to be creative and make bets around what might work. And when it doesn't, we come together and we make sure we have a solution to make it work.
Yeah, it's even in the staff, right? So for example, our channel organization handles a specific aspect of the business, right? And so it's like, how do we enable them to be in different parts of the business, right? There's an enablement, and there's a shifting of mindset. There's things that we've tried that just did not work. We have one that we're looking at right now where we've partnered with a channel partner to provide like a joint listing, and we're kind of using that as an area to get more information, and we're kind of looking at that to see if that's a model. Some of the feedback that we've heard too is that, and Mike, you'll probably have more data on this, but being in marketplace or having a business around marketplace is an investment of the company. And it's not just in sales. It is kind of, I call it the one marketplace experience. And it comes from product releasing their product and having it available in a listing, having go to market point to the listing for a customer's to do a trial, having that kind of SaaS operational flow, from the alliances, providing direction and co-sell, all the way up the food chain. And so, we've spent a lot of time trying to perfect that wheel. And so I just think that when I speak to some of the channel partners, it becomes a heavy weight and an investment. So one of the things that we're doing is saying, you know what, you don't do that. Don't worry about that. We can handle it through the services that we have. We can provide quoting or whatever is needed to get them to a point where, okay, this is a decent business, right? Because how do you go from, multi-million to like thousands, right? You're going to have to, it's a whole business. You're going to have a new baseline. So how do we help in that journey, and how do we provide support for that?
Yeah, I think to complement that, I think that change management is really important. So Christine's saying exactly what we think, that it's not just a case of the people that deal with the customer incentivized in a certain way, for example. So sometimes your incentive model will even almost disincentive driving something through a marketplace. You have to think about all those simple change management dynamics, the basics of running our organizations, and the operational blueprint that we put behind it, the operational frameworks that run our organizations. We have to think about all the detail to be changed and do it gradually, so we don't upset the customer, upset being a product or a service company at the same time. But there's so many parts of this. How do you deal with a customer? How do you onboard them? How do you deal with service and support? How do you sell, right? We're selling organizations. We have to sell software. So we sell software and services. How do we incentivize people to sell software and services? How do we do that in an elegant way that doesn't drive down our existing business and allows us all to still be successful? So it's more of a grand plan, but I like the taking a bet or being creative motion that Christine gave us earlier.
Yeah, so I think when it comes to kind of channel conflict, would you guys recommend that's the approach you would take to, basically respectively for your companies individually? What approach would you take to avoid channel conflicts? Some of the things you guys said there is probably a piece of it, but anything else to elaborate on? Recognizing channel conflict, overcoming it, and helping the ISV channel relationship in the meantime?
I think from my perspective on one side, and then maybe Christine on the other side, but I think from a channel perspective, channel conflict only exists when you're not prepared to embrace it. You're not prepared to challenge conflict. So if you bring something that has conflict for both of us or for all of us, then it only becomes conflict when it's like the elephant in the room and we're not dealing with it. We haven't programmatically put it on the list and said, together, we need to be successful. How do we do this thing? So for me, that's the collaboration that needs to happen. And that's actually what channel has always been about for me, I think, to be open. So good channel relationships, good partner programs, good feedback to the customer, making sure that the customer gets the right value for me is very important.
Yeah, even incentives, like Mike said, we do look at that at F5. So we want to make sure that if there's not a resell motion, that there's an influence motion, right? How do we incent the partner for coming to us and partnering with us? At the end of the day, it's about the relationship. Forget how the route and where you buy and what you do. Is that partner helping? And a lot of times they're in those accounts with us. They're partnered with us. So, but you can only pick and choose things, because I will say that we're growing. I always say this inside of F5, we're growing our route. The channel business has been a very seasoned business. It's years in the making. It wasn't just all of a sudden it just stood up and we had a channel program and it ran flawlessly. There was a lot of learnings and iterations along the way. I don't always have the answers, because we just haven't workshopped it, right? There's so many different intricacies to this. But the biggest thing for me is we just capture and we look at what rock we want to move, and we do that as a part of our planning. And we do planning twice a year in order for us to really move some of those bigger rocks.
Perfect. Well, that concludes the questions that I had. And any closing thoughts that you guys would like to share? And we got about 2 minutes left here in today's session.
Just from my side, no, thank you. Just thank you for the time. Thank you everyone for listening and contributing. Very happy to be here. Would love these conversations. And I think it's something we all need to take seriously to be solving problems for our customers moving forward.
I echo what Mike said. Even before, when we were talking, before this presentation, I was learning more about what Suffer One went through, and the more that we can have open dialogue and discuss it and help each other, and we're all kind of venturing into this new world together, and it's fun. So have fun doing it as well.
All right. Well, guys, thank you so much. Thanks, Christine, Mike. This was a great discussion. For the folks on the line, we have about a 10-minute break coming up. So I encourage everyone to go check out the networking lounge to chat with other attendees and earn points on the leaderboard. And our next session kicks off at 2:20 Eastern time. So thanks again, guys. I really appreciate your time today. It was great insight, and look forward to having you guys back here in upcoming events.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Corey. Thanks, Christine.